All right. So good morning again, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. I'm excited to kick off our 2022 installment of the BDPA Tech and Career Talks. As usual, I am Devin Jenkins, our National BDPA Tech and Career Talk leader, joining you from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I am a technical product manager in our supply chain analytics space. So glad to have you here today. I'll get into a brief overview of BDPA and what the techs are all about. Then I'll turn it over to Akil Bektemba, who is the CEO and president of our partner org for today's talk, Vanguard Consulting Group, LLC, out of Atlanta. So BDPA began in 1975, for those who are unfamiliar, as a way for IT professionals to continue to network and develop their skills. And then BDPA also has a focus on youth, teaching them computer programming skills, and building our talent pipeline, keeping diverse individuals ready to enter the field of IT and technology, as we carry forth the mantra, advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So that's what we're all about. The Tech and Career Talks began about 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was actually about 3 or 4 years ago. Excuse me. Chandria Seaton kicked them off when she was the national secretary, and then transitioned over to me. But the Tech and Career Talks happen on the second and fourth Friday of each month, and we have a range of speakers and topics if you haven't joined before. So be on the lookout. Our next one we'll have someone from Google joining us, discussing some things around the cloud, and there'll be more to come throughout the year. So be sure to stay tuned. Check us out. We look forward to having everyone here on those second and fourth Fridays for our talks. So that's a little bit about BDPA, a little bit of who I am, and what the Tech and Career Talks are all about. So at this time, I will turn the floor over to Akil, who will be our master of ceremonies, if you will, for the remainder of our talk today.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Devin. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is a great crowd, and I think looking so forward to having a discussion with Dr. Togun about data science and diversifying the workforce and all those good things. And there couldn't be a better time to do this with Black History Month. So we'll get into it. Just real quick, as Devin said, I'm Akil Bektemba. I am the CEO, president of Vanguard Consulting Group. We're a workforce development firm that works in partnership development and apprenticeship. We are working in efforts to expand registered apprenticeship programs and also make it much more easier, make it easier for minorities and underrepresented groups to take part in the apprenticeship world. And so we are very much looking forward to having this discussion because it is very important, and Dr. Togun will expand on how important it is to diversify the data science workforce. So as we get started, I'd like to introduce Dr. Togun and tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Taiwo Togun. I was born in Nigeria, came to the United States for the opportunities. And I've been in the United States since 2002, and that's where I had a lot of my education. But I define myself first as an educator and then a data scientist. And the marriage of education and data science is what has led me on my journey to sort of define opportunities where I can continue to do data science, but at the same time, teach people how to do data science. And just, the purpose of education, or as an educator, the goal is to make people, students feel successful and become successful. And I'm very privileged to be able to do that at the K-12 level, as well as at the college level. So I teach computer science to K-12. I teach bioinformatics to graduate students, and I run a data science consulting company where we apply the skills that I teach to students to actually derive value from data. And I do that through CCUB Analytics, that's the consulting company. And Inclusion Bridge is our training focused arm, our subsidiary that is just focused on the mission of increasing participation of people in underrepresented communities in data science.
So you talk about.
And the other one, they're waiting 2 days to empty it.
All right, Deb, can you mute that? Thank you. So Dr. Togun, thank you so much for the introduction. For us kind of laymen in the world of technology and data science and these kind of things, can you kind of give just kind of a general idea or understanding for us of what data science is and, you know, kind of how it impacts the broader world and everything we do?
Absolutely. It's quite a buzzword, right? Data science. And some describe it as the sexiest job of the 21st century.
Nice.
And that will be right. For me, I think, so I have to say many people have different variation of definitions that will be correct, at least some part of it will be correct. But for me, the first time I used the term data science was around 2010. And I was referring to my work as a graduate student where the focus was using data, DNA sequence data to inform who will respond or resist a particular therapy in breast cancer and glioblastoma. And so that definition will be right, that it is applying statistical methods to derive insights from data. But I think that it's a very narrow definition, right? Simply because it's so focused on the task of answering a particular question. I think data science is very broad. And if you think about I would say the best way I would define data science is using the 2 words, data and science, right? If you think of data as a way to package or translate information into an efficient way to transport and to process. And if you think of science as a system of deriving knowledge, acquiring knowledge, then data science is a combination of both, where I will define data science then as the systematic way of deriving value from data. And I think it spans several industries. And so several industries will have, you know, their own particular definition as it pertains to the kind of value they want to get from their data. So simply put, I would say data science is that art of taking technical tools of processing data or analyzing data to actually derive useful value for an organization. I think that's, I don't know, is that clear? Would you say that's layman's definition?
Yeah, well, you know, you can't help but be technical because you're just very smart. So I think that you know, for me that was very good. And I think some of the pieces of that I think applies to some of the things that we've talked about before is just how that information or that need of being able to process data and understand data crosses, you know, all industries, all kind of platforms. Everything that we use is kind of driven by data science. And so I find it very interesting when you talk about it, because it touches everything. And even more importantly, we talk about how you know, who is processing the data and how you know, how this data is transferred to the public. is one of the most important pieces of why diversifying, data science in the field of data science needs to happen. Let's talk about a little bit about Inclusion Bridge. You talked about, a couple of organizations in your company, and then also Inclusion Bridge. And I know that in some of the things that we've spoken about before, kind of the purpose of Inclusion Bridge, and it is in its name, right? Inclusion and Bridge. And so can you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing in the data science field?
Yes, so just to prefix this, right, the foundation, I think data science is integral to every innovation process across industries. And I think there are growing opportunities to apply data science in these different industries. But as these opportunities grow, is also then a realization that there is growing demographic inequities, right? Where the people who are able to actively participate, right? Those that are privileged for the most part, and those who have been privileged to be exposed to it at an early age, and those who can afford to go to, Ivy League colleges, or who have the opportunity to do internship that positions them to get a good job to start with, right? Mm-hmm. And so Inclusion Bridge, our mission at Inclusion Bridge is really to close that opportunity gap, right? We understand that there are a lot of, boot camps that focus on, the technical Pythonic skills that you need as a data science. But the gap that we find that is missing is the opportunity to actually take these technical skills and use it in a meaningful way where you are a decision maker, right? And so our goal at Inclusion Bridge is to help data scientists, or at least people who have the technical chops, and to help them translate that skills effectively into value creating skills for companies. So at Inclusion Bridge, our focus is not just to create data scientists. We want to create data science leaders. And in order to create data science leaders, given the opportunity to polish or to complement some of the technical skills that are required with the essential skills and soft skills to actually navigate your way on a growth path as a data scientist, from entry level to hopefully being able to be at the seat with decision makers. And so we also think that the way to do this needs to consider the fact that early access is important, right? And so what we have thought about at Inclusion Bridge and what we have created is a way for participation early in the data science experience in high schools, right? But focusing on the data science workforce development, our goal is to get students who are still in college, those that have recently graduated, those that have gone to boot camp and have some level of experience in the technical aspects, and sort of creating the experience that gives them that safe space to translate that technological skills that they've gained into value creating skills, where they can not just be data scientists who munch numbers, but they are data scientists who can think of the value creating questions. What questions is valuable to the stakeholder? They are data scientists who can sort of advocate for new directions. for new directions of different analysis that they're doing based on their knowledge of not just the technical know-how, but also the big picture of where is this company trying to go and how do I help them get there, right? And if you think about it, right, the value of data, I think it hinges really on diversity of, both the set of information that that is being analyzed, but also the perspectives that are necessary to sort of comprehensively interpret the data. And so at Inclusion Bridge, our goal is to make sure that people from underrepresented communities gain the essential and soft skills to complement their technical skills to be part of that voice that that shapes the decision making that comes out of using data to make decisions.
Yeah, that's perfect. I think that, for me, the takeaways there, like you said, just the inclusion part of it, and the fact that the way that the interpretation, I think that's, for me, is key, and who is interpreting and how broad and diverse that group is, because it all feeds the rest of us, right? So I think that that's great. I also wanted to kind of have you expound a little bit more on kind of that journey. So we talked a little bit about the journey, and so you're talking about, if I'm a young senior in high school, couple, maybe sophomore in college, and I hit this point where I definitely want to get into data science. Kind of what does that journey look like, and you can include Inclusion Bridge in that. And I think that you've touched very well on how Inclusion Bridge fits into that. But what's that journey look like for someone? And we'll talk a little bit later on how apprenticeship might work into that, or does work into that.
Yeah. So oftentimes, unless if anyone who is interested in gaining technical competency to do data science, I think there are a vast amount of resources available out there. And so people who are able to take advantage of those resources, they have a good start, right? And it starts with, looking up different data science bootcamps that are out there, right? And sort of going through a program that gives you a structured presentation of the materials on the technical side. And I think that if you're in college and you have these technical skills, how you demonstrate to employers that you are really hungry and interested in, taking the skills beyond knowing how to crunch numbers, is by working on projects, right? Mm-hmm. And so the journey then becomes, I'm exposed to a technical skills, right? I want to build on this technical skills, so I think of projects, and there are several project ideas that are out there, and so getting your hands dirty is very necessary as a data scientist, right? And as you continue to do that, then having an opportunity like Inclusion Bridge, where with your technical skills, then you can go through an experience where those technical skills are then further complemented with, what is the workplace culture of where you are likely to work, understanding the kinds of, again, the goals and objectives of companies, right? So being able to go from technical skills to saying, what is the question that I can ask, and how can I frame it as a data science question for which the tools that I already have access to and know how to use can then be used or applied to those kinds of questions. And so, and typically, right, organizations like BDPA that have access and a network of, students that are our targets, and on the other end, they have companies in their network. these are relationships that we build to find those students that are hungry and connect them to companies within that network, right? So we're playing a role of, there's an infrastructure that exists. People are doing it very well. There's data science workforce that's being created for students who are hungry to be part of the workforce, but we are just filling that extra gap of saying, you're not quite ready for work, right? You've demonstrated your ability through the effort you've put in your technical endeavors, and now we will work to create and simulate environments, through internships, right? So if companies have internship programs, right, and inserting ourselves into running internship programs that are data science focused, I think complements the journey of such a student who, whether self-taught or through school, got some technical knowledge, and now they have an environment where it is not the typical check your box internship, but now it's a check your box internship with real valuable skills, because as a company, we're working with Inclusion Bridge to help you tailor an experience that you will benefit from, and you can go back to school and tell them that this company means business in providing solid internship that is value creating for the students. So the journey goes from, I will do it myself because I'm very interested, to then finding an internship, and through organizations like Inclusion Bridge, and that's our hope. Our hope is that there are many organizations like us that are really seeing the gap in helping students from underrepresented communities create a safe, psychologically safe environment to test their skills by way of internship on projects that they can cite and reference for more opportunities in the future.
I love that, and I love the fact that you don't stop at, when you talk about the journey and you talk about the process of getting from kind of student to professional. The fact that you didn't leave out the fact that you're not about only creating number crunchers, right? You're not only about creating or helping to develop, kind of low level. You are creating and helping to develop leaders, and I think that that's a real key and a real kind of piece to Inclusion Bridge that I really have attached myself to, because that's to me that's very, very important. As we talk about data science kind of in a broader sense, it's associated with a number of career pathways, I'm assuming. And so can you give me kind of a sense of where a data scientist might work, what industries a data scientist might work? This is probably loaded and it's probably expansive, but I wanted kind of folks to really kind of see that it's, how it touches everything that we do and how important kind of the field is. And so can you give us a little bit of idea? And then I have a couple of questions that I see in the chat box that I'll throw at you also.
Yeah, again, I think that data science is very critical in all industries. I think any industry that sees data as a well-packaged information to efficiently transmit it and process it for value creation, I think those industries are prime for data science. And so industries can go from retail, where you are trying to understand your customers, right? And you're trying to understand how they group into different categories. That's a basic machine learning or data science application, right? And so retail is an area where you can easily see how I will use data science to help understand my customers better. Finance, of course, I mean, if you want to forecast outcome in the near future, anywhere where you're doing forecasting, right? I mean, those are industries where you can I mean, those are places where data science is relevant. And so from education to retail to finance, there are so many, all industries, I would say, offer a place for a data scientist. And that is part of what we think is also very important, is to understand that as a data scientist, what you have is a tool. What you have is a skill set that is central to any business. And so as a data scientist, you can work in any industry, right? And I think what we stress in our experience is also for students to sort of think about what they are excited about, right? I mean, if you are building a machine learning, if you work on a predictive analytics task, and through that predictive analytics task, what excites you the most is, you know, the inner workings of the model that you are building, right? You are very interested in, you know, how are you able to forecast based on your data input. I think somebody like that is more prone to strategy, right? Where you are sort of thinking strategy and forecasting, right? Where you're sort of thinking about what are the pieces that make things work. If what excites you is, you know, being able to sort of see people's reactions or understand people's behavior, right? I think then you are more likely to enjoy tasks where you are doing maybe consumer research, right? Or product testing, right? So there's so many areas where data science lends itself. And I think what is important as a data scientist is to make sure that you're doing what you enjoy and what you love. And I think the biggest thing about data science, and I think it's constant across all definitions, is it's continuous learning. I don't think that there's a data scientist who knows it all or who knows every aspect of data science. And so you find what you're interested in, what you're excited about, and then the rest is what are the pieces that you need to acquire in order to be able to deliver on that. So yes, the answer to the question simply is there are many industries where data science is applicable, but it is very important as a data scientist to know what excites you, what you're excited about, and that can help you find your footing in the industry.
And I think that's exciting. I think that, you know, those who may be interested, especially the youth that we work with and the, you know, college students and those who are kind of still trying to formulate, you know, what their path is going to be, what their journey is going to be, and where they're going to end up, to really look at this field seriously as kind of a, you know, as a real potential career for them. And I think that that's really important. There's a couple questions, so kind of to attach to it too. Valerie Williams asks, do data scientists need to be statisticians?
Well, I would say that I think you need to understand a little bit of statistics. You don't have to be a statistician, right? Again, the first time I used the word data science, I was doing, a large part of what I was doing was statistics, right? And I think given that you can use statistics and data science synonymously in a way, simply because in data science, you are applying statistical methods. And sometimes even machine learning, when you build machine learning models, right, there is statistical learning involved in machine learning models. So you don't have to be a hardcore statistician, but you do have to understand, you know, the relevance or the relevant statistics that helps you understand what method to use for what question, right? So yes, I think a data scientist does not need to be a statistician, but I think they need to certainly understand statistical methods and how to choose the appropriate one for different questions or the right questions.
And I can appreciate that answer also because we're not trying to narrow, right? The narrow to where people feel like this is not a field that they can go into because they're not a statistician or they're not this.
Right.
The way that you explain it is that, you know, you can, if you understand, you know, the tools and the methods and the, you know, and the purpose, then you're, you know, you can get into this field and you know, really enjoy working in it. So I think that that's important too. So there's a couple more, and then we'll go back kind of to the conversation. So Amara, Tennessee says, the data science and tech industries seem to be expanding and evolving rapidly. How do you see the industries changing, and what can you do to evolve with them? Or maybe what can we do to evolve with them?
Absolutely, and I think that's a great question. And again, I think beginning with the fact that data science is continuous education, right? And so as the field, as there are increasingly different ways of collecting data, different types of data that you're collecting, and all industries have the access to this evolving technologies to amass a large amount of data. I think being able to keep track, right, of the kinds of questions that are possible from the data that's coming, I think is one thing. And I think from understanding the kinds of data that are coming, then understanding the skill set that are necessary to be prepared for those kinds of data. And that's really one of the biggest things. That's the core. It is very central to our mission, is the fact that all industries are changing, right? And all industries are going to now depend on ability to derive the ever increasing value from their data. But then if the people who analyze and interpret the data are just a specific demographic, right, then they don't get the full richness of, you know, different perspectives informing the data. And so one of the ways that we at Inclusion Bridge are trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in this emerging economy or the emerging industries that are based on value from data, is really focusing on not just the technical skills, right, but the essential skills that give you the agency to ask more questions, the agency to be a leader in the field, so that you are part of those steering the direction of the different tools that exist. So I think one way, simple answer is not focusing on tools, because data science tools are what they are tools, but sort of making sure that every data science education is complemented with an opportunity to safely practice the other essential and soft skills that properly complements the technical skills to sort of match the emerging fields in all these different industries.
Are any of your classes virtual? Because I think I want to sit in on some of your classes here. I do have another question here, and forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but Taiko Ari asks, what approaches are you applying to build up this conceptualization and decision-making capability? Case study, hackathons, or other?
Right, I mean, it's a combination of all of that, right? But more so, in our approach sort of creates, we focus on scenarios that requires the process of extracting and formulating the right questions. And we really believe that once a hackathon, all those sources, they definitely help you sharpen your technical skills, but the scenarios in which you have to think about not just the tools you have to apply, but who are the stakeholders and what matters to them. So those will be some concrete medium or media that I would say, or avenues through which we are able to complement these technical skills with the essential skills.
Great. I love the engagement here. We have more. Does Lean Six Sigma, either green or black belt, help you leverage jumpstarting your data science career or career change? And this is coming from John Coleman. How you doing, John?
Well, so Lean Six Sigma is typically in project management. Tell me more about Lean Six Sigma. Akil, can you tell me more about Lean Six Sigma?
I tell you what, Devin, can you unmute John Coleman?
Yep, you should be able to unmute now.
Hi there, I'm from Chicago chapter, former president. And actually, I just want to say we actually have our speaker for February is also this called Vince Shorter will be doing a presentation for Chicago chapter. I copied that information into the chat information parity. But Lean Six Sigma is a combination of practices for reducing waste and finding shorter ways to produce materials. Lean Six Sigma Green Belt is a fairly new participant, but who's had actual project work, whereas a black belt is a master. But they do tend to deal with lots of data points because you're looking for where there is uncertainty in a project or where there is a possibility to expand services based on pneumatic data. So that's why I was asking if data science is a natural jumping point to a career in data science. And then the other question I had, I'm sorry, I'll let you go ahead and answer that question first.
Yes, so with that said, the simple answer is yes. If you have the technical skills of a data scientist and you have the experience of knowing how to effectively target those skills and tools of a data scientist, certainly you will be more valuable because in fact, if you are thinking of how to reduce waste, there's this field, predictive maintenance, right, where you can easily forecast what's going to break down. You can easily sort of think about different aspects of reducing waste and collect data to target those aspects, right? So yes, the simple answer is data science skills will very well complement Lean Six Sigma skills.
Either green or black. Okay, and then the second question I had is actually, what is the cross point of data science and cybersecurity? And again, those I find to be very interesting skill sets, but is there a point where they're found to be more useful as a data scientist to understand the security point of it as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one immediate thing that comes to mind is in cybersecurity, one of the key things or biggest things is sort of determining what is an anomaly, right? Mm-hmm. Outright, that is outlier detection, right? So understanding methods of being able to say signals that are coming in. If you look at the distribution of different signals that come into a network, and one just stands out, right? That's a red flag, right? That's
outliers on a predictive model.
Right. So that's one immediate application. So I would say that definitely application of data science tools will benefit, or cybersecurity benefits a lot from applications of data science tools. And those thinkings, I think, are very, or the thinking process of a data scientist definitely lends itself to a good cybersecurity expert.
Well, thank you very much from the Chicago chapter. We very much are enjoying your presentation so far.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, John. And actually, that's a perfect segue into kind of my next question and a little bit the next talk, because our relationship with BDPA began with this concept around creating, developing, and expanding apprenticeship programs in data science and cybersecurity. And so John's question was fitting to that effort. But recently, we had the opportunity to meet Dr. Togun and Jillian Christie from Inclusion Bridge, and started our bond and our relationship, which is very exciting for us. But one of the things that we've been really talking about and brainstorming on and working towards is collaborating on a data science registered apprenticeship program in conjunction with our relationship with BDPA and expanding on from there with some of the educational institutions and that kind of thing that we work with. Tell us why this is an important effort and how you see it kind of morphing into opportunities to diversify the field of data science. And I think you kind of touched on that, at least the importance, but can you tell me how you think about the apprenticeship program, which is a little bit different than internships, obviously, in its kind of structure and obviously relation to the Department of Labor, but just wanted to kind of get your sense on that.
Yes, I think one of the exciting things is the fact that as we grow, we are understanding our capabilities and our strengths. My advisors, they've been doing a good job making sure we know who we are and we can focus on what we are good at. And I think what we are good at is this experience that actually does the training of complementing the technical skills with those essential and soft skills, while at the same time deepening those technical skills. And so it's very important then to have organizations that already have sort of the system to do this, whether it is a company that has its own apprenticeship program and looking for a way to start creating a data science strategy, and by offering internships, right? It's something that exists, right? There's a company and then there are students. I think the relationship with VCG and BDPA, one of the avenues that we are really excited about is there is a network that is already connected to the students that we really want to work with, because those are the ones that are experiencing the opportunity gap. And so we see this collaboration as a vehicle to help us take the experience we have created to reach more than just people in Atlanta, people everywhere, right? So we think that, we're starting small, but as we start small, it's a focus on what we do well, which is create that experience that effectively complements your starting data science skills with essentials and soft, what they call it soft skills, we call them essential skills, right? Of advocacy, of problem formulation, of being able to just define and quantify value that you will add to a company. And so the relationship then is that we want to focus on delivering the experience, whereas organizations like BDPA already have the network where our offering just naturally fits and everybody is doing what they're good at.
That's perfect. That's perfect. This has been fascinating, and I so appreciate you and your your input and insight into what this subject is and how to really kind of open the doors to those who otherwise may not know about it and may not have even thought about this as a career path. I think that it's incredibly important as we expand opportunities, especially to underrepresented, underserved populations who otherwise, like you said, because of different factors, whether it be location or financial reasons or other reasons, otherwise would not even, be in this realm, but really may have kind of the way of thinking and the desire to, to work in this. We see kids from all over, not just kids, but young adults and adults over 18 as well, are seeing there's a lot of transition going on and a lot of people entering and looking into other fields that they may not have before. And I think that this is a perfect segue and perfect pathway to get into data science. I'd like to spend a couple minutes before we close up, because we're coming to the end of our conversation, and unmute the audience, and then we'll start taking some additional questions. There are a couple, I should say, that are in the chat box. So I'll start there, and then you guys that are on the that are joined us, please come on in and ask a few questions. So let me start with this one. What are expected salary range for data science skills?
Well, I just Googled it, and it ranges, right? You go from 60K to 250K, from 68K to 97K. It ranges. Glassdoor is, I think, is one of the sources of finding salary ranges. And from there, you will go from a data analyst position, making as low as 25K to a senior data scientist that's making as much as 170K. So I think it ranges, but typically I think that it would depend on what it would depend on the company, right? And so, and that's one of the things we advise the candidates we work with, is sort of beyond looking for opportunity to do what you love in data science, also looking at other necessary aspects of the company, such as, what is their compensation rate like, right? Those are all things that are important to consider. So, but the simple answer is it varies, and it can range as low as 25K for a data analyst in some companies. I would say I would encourage, there's a 60K and above is a great range to think of, right?
That's good. Are there any other questions out there? I'm starting to see faces pop up here. Oh, go ahead, Taiwo.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it, Akil.
No,
it's Taiko.
Taiko.
No worries. No worries. But I appreciate it. My question, I just was thinking in terms of, someone maybe mid-career thinking about going up into higher levels of leadership. Is the data science role going to be housed like within operations, and then maybe from operations to CEO, or would you see it more of a finance track and then finance to CEO, or is data science really at a larger institution going to be like its own C-suite group?
That's an interesting question, and I think I have seen this I've seen both versions of this, where you have a decentralized data science team, right? Where there is a data science team, it's the main data science team, and there's the chief data scientist that oversees everything there. But then there's also a decentralized kind of operation where there are data science leaders or data science groups within different aspects or different operations of the company. So that finance has their own, marketing has their own data science team, and from there, maybe the hybrid is where maybe the data science lead of the decentralized team, can then report to the chief data scientist. But you can certainly climb the ladder as a data scientist within those decentralized units.
Thank you. Appreciate that perspective.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Any other questions out there?
Michelle is raising her hand, I see.
Okay.
Hi, Michelle McKeag.
Hi, Michelle.
I work out here in Seattle in King County government, and we are focused on trying to apply equity and social justice to most everything we do. And one of the questions that comes up is, how do we put our thumb on the scale, so to speak, on the other direction when we look at ways in which people of color and women are often marginalized, even when you think about data science and machine learning and how it's supposed to be equal and across the board, but those inequities are baked into the models because of data that exists and has existed for a long, long time. How do we get to a point where we can make that more equal? Now, I've suggested that maybe we add credits in some way to, just to give you an example, my husband and I, we live in the same house. He's a white male, I'm a Black female. We apply for Apple credit cards. His credit limit is twice mine. We have equivalent job titles and income and credit scores, but his credit limit is twice mine, right? So if we look at a situation like that, and if we can apply a credit to someone who looks like me, how would that, and I know this is kind of a difficult question and maybe one that's not fair for this forum, but it could be suggested as a possible project for anyone on this call to take on if they want to look into that sort of thing. What are your thoughts? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question, Michelle. My partner, Jillian, and my partners, Jillian, Matthew, and I, we started this journey first with a grant application. And the grant application was, how do we minimize algorithmic bias in the data science? How do we minimize algorithmic bias? And in our research, right? Oh, by the way, I also work at Brown doing a research that focuses on sort of the perceptions of fairness in machine learning algorithm. And so with that experience at Brown and also the research that we did as a team to sort of say, look, you're right. In high stakes decision making today, right, algorithms are being applied to make these decisions. The ones that are most affected by it, right, are the ones that are most underrepresented in the field. So, well, at Brown, there is academic, and many universities, right, there are so many academic efforts that are focused on the algorithms themselves, right? And what we thought about is, look, brilliant, very brilliant people are at work working on the algorithms and seeing how to fix it, but we can start doing our part. And by doing our part, we started Inclusion Bridge. We want to increase the participation of people like us who are most affected by the algorithmic bias and are least represented. And so I think it's certainly an opportunity for interdisciplinary collaboration where academics and industry experts have to come together. Now, on the industry side of things, I think companies making ways for participation of people in underrepresented communities, and not just at the entry level, but at the decision-making level, such that if we can't change the algorithms yet, at least we can actively be part of those who steward how the algorithm is used, because we know how it is affecting our communities, right? And so potentially somebody should have seen, like okay, this credit limit, why is it so discrepant, right? And make that their own job, right? And so I think that it's a combination of industry and academic experts and citizens, just stepping up and doing their part. So yes, it's a loaded question. I don't think that algorithmic bias is going anywhere anytime soon, but I think some of the active things we can do is to increase the eligibility of people in underrepresented communities to actively participate in stewarding how those algorithms are used, and taking not just blindly predicting, but also looking at the implications of the predictions and making sure that it is fair.
Excellent. Any other questions? We're coming to the end of our time. So want to see if there was one last question. If not, I will pass it on to Devin, and he and I can close up. Sounds like we're good, Devin.
All right. Well, thank you all again for joining our first Tech and Career Talk of the year. It's definitely been a great one. Thank you again, Dr. Togun, for joining us today. And this won't be the last time we have Vanguard with us. They'll be with us a few times this year, bringing us some excellent talks. So be on the lookout for more to come. In the chat, if you check the messages there, Akil has shared some information, a way to connect. Come in. It's been a while, huh? No, not feeling it. Not feeling it. Getting down. Okay. Check the messages for ways to connect with Vanguard, as well as the Tech and Career Talk. Like I say, we'll be back on the 25th with Google, discussing their cloud and some things around that. So be sure to tune in for more great talks throughout the year. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay blessed. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.